Let me ask you something. Have you ever been in a room full of people and felt completely invisible? Not ignored, not overlooked, invisible, like you could disappear right now and no one would notice for days. That was my life, every single day, in my own home. But then one night, one single night, the most powerful man in the room looked at me. Not through me, not past me, me, and I thought, finally, someone sees me. I was so wrong. He didn't see me because I was special. He didn't look at me because I was beautiful. He looked at me because he needed a weapon. And I was the most convenient one in the room. My name is Sienna Caldwell, and this is the story of how I was sold to a monster. The worst part? The monster turned out to be far more human than anyone around me ever was. Stay with me, because what happens next, nobody saw coming, not even me. You need to understand something about the Caldwell family before I tell you the rest. From the outside, we looked perfect. Old money, a last name that opened every door in New York. A father who sat on 3 corporate boards and had dinner with senators on weekends. From the outside, we looked like everything. From the inside, I was the help. Not literally, but close enough. My mother died when I was 9, and the moment she was gone, so was any reason my father had to look at me like I mattered. He had 2 other children from his second marriage, my half-sister Daphne and my half-brother Preston. They were golden. They were chosen. They were his. And I was the reminder of a woman he had moved on from. I managed the house staff schedules by the time I was 16. I organized my father's charity events. I sat at dinners where people talked around me like I was part of the furniture. I smiled when I was supposed to smile. I disappeared when I was supposed to disappear. I was 23 years old and I had never once made a decision that was entirely my own. 23 years old, and not one single choice that was truly mine. That is the kind of invisible I'm talking about. And then came the night of my father's annual gala, the night Cael Ashford walked into the room. Every year, my father hosted what he called the Caldwell Gala. Fancy name for what it really was, a room full of powerful men measuring each other's egos while their wives pretended not to notice. I was standing near the bar when I felt it, that feeling. You know the one, when someone is watching you so intently that the air around you shifts. I turned slowly, and that's when I saw him. Cael Ashford, 6'2", dark hair. The kind of jaw that looks like it was carved with a grudge. He was wearing a black suit with no tie in a room full of men drowning in tuxedos, and somehow he looked like the most powerful person there. Because he was. Cael Ashford was the kind of man that entire companies restructured themselves around just to avoid his attention. He had never once come to my father's event before. So why was he here tonight? He was looking at me like he was solving a problem, not like I was beautiful, not like he was attracted to me, like I was the answer to an equation he had been working on for a very long time. I looked away first. I always looked away first. But something told me, something deep and quiet in my chest, that tonight was different. Tonight, looking away wasn't going to save me. He found me 40 minutes later. I was in the hallway outside the main ballroom when I heard footsteps behind me. Slow, deliberate, the footsteps of someone who had nowhere to be and all the time in the world. He was closer than I expected. Close enough that I could see the exact shade of his eyes, dark gray, like the sky right before a storm decides what it wants to do. He said, "You, Ree Thomas Caldwell's daughter, the quiet one." I said, "I am Sienna." He tilted his head slightly. Like my name was new information he was filing away somewhere important. "Sienna," he repeated. Slow, like he was testing the weight of it. "Then Your father owes me a significant amount of money. You know that? I didn't. I genuinely didn't. But I kept my face still. Years of practice, I said. That sounds like a conversation you should have with him. Something flickered across his expression. Not quite a smile. Something more dangerous than a smile. He said, I've already had that conversation. Multiple times. Tonight, I'm having a different one. He stepped closer, just slightly. Enough to make the air feel different. I have a proposition, he said. One that benefits both of us. I said, I'm not interested in propositions from men I just met. That's fair, he said. But you haven't heard it yet. He reached into the inside pocket of his jacket and pulled out a folded document. What is that? I asked. He said, your father signed it an hour ago. My stomach dropped. I took the paper. I unfolded it. And there, at the bottom of a legal document I had never seen, never been consulted about, never been warned about, was my name. Signed by my father. Are you ready for what that document said? Because even now, years later, every time I think about that moment, I feel that same exact thing I felt that night. Like the floor had opened up beneath me, and I was already falling. It was a marriage contract. My father had signed me away, like a house, like a car, like something that belonged to him that he could just decide to transfer to someone else. My hands were shaking. I could feel them shaking, and I hated that he could probably see it. This isn't legal, I said. He said, it is. Your father agreed to settle his debt. You marry me, the debt disappears. His reputation stays clean. I said, not a debt settlement. He said, no, you, considerably more useful than that. I felt sick, not just at him, at my father, at the fact that somewhere in that ballroom my father was shaking hands and laughing and probably already feeling relieved because he had found a way out, and the way out was me. And if I refuse? I said. Cael was quiet for exactly 3 seconds. Then he said, your father loses everything. The company, the house, the reputation he's been building for 30 years. Your sister and brother lose their inheritance, their futures, everything they've been promised. He paused. My patience ran out tonight, he said. I looked back down at the document. My name, my father, signature, a date, 3 weeks from today. I thought about Daphne, about Preston, about what it would mean for them if I said no, about the fact that nobody, not once in 23 years, had ever considered what I wanted. And somehow, standing there in that hallway with a marriage contract in my shaking hands, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Rage. Real, hot, full-bodied rage. I folded the document back up. Fine, I said. Something shifted in his expression, so fast I almost missed it. But I want one thing, I said. He raised an eyebrow. I want you to look me in the eyes right now and admit that this is not a marriage. This is a transaction, and I want you to promise me that you will never, not once, pretend otherwise. He looked at me for a long moment. Then, he took the document from my hand. Agreed, he said, and just like that I was his. The Ashford estate was everything my father's house wished it could be. Dark wood and high ceilings and windows that went from floor to ceiling, showing nothing but sky and trees and the kind of quiet that old money actually buys. It was beautiful. I hated it because I hadn't chosen it. I arrived on a Tuesday morning with 2 suitcases and the particular kind of numbness that comes from making a decision you didn't have and immediately regretting it, while also knowing you make it again. Cael was not there. He wasn't there Tuesday or Wednesday. I saw him briefly on Thursday in a suit, phone to his ear, walking like the house was something he passed through rather than lived in. He glanced at me, nodded once, kept walking. That was it. That was my husband. A nod in a hallway. I told myself that was fine. This was a transaction. Distance was what I wanted. It was on the 5th day that things changed. I was in the library when he walked in. He stopped when he saw me, like he had forgotten I existed. I said, "I was told this was a shared space." He said, "It is." He crossed the room to his desk and sat down without another word. We sat in silence for 40 minutes. And then he said, without looking up, "You don't seem afraid of me." I said, without looking up, "Should I be?" Silence. Then, "Most people are." I turned a page. "I'm not most people," I said. He was watching me, and something about the way he was watching me had changed. I didn't know it then, but that was the moment Cael Ashford's plan started to fall apart. This is only part 1 of Sienna and Cael's story, and I promise you what happens next changes everything. The rules, the distance, the walls he built, and the moment they finally crack. They're a scene coming that I think about every single time I tell this story. A room, a piano, and a man who hadn't let anyone hear him in years. Click the card on your screen right now to go straight to part 2. It's already waiting for you. And if you're new here, hit subscribe. We tell stories for people who like to feel things, and we just getting started.